Losing someone you love is always difficult. It is important to have somebody on your side, somebody who can support you and help you to move on and start a new life. Because when you are with someone who understands you, you will never feel alone again. Just like Suze and Gage from our story. But let's get back to the beginning. Suze definitely had some hard periods in her life. 5 years ago, she broke up with her husband, who was cheating on her, and raised their daughter Brooke alone. Now, Brooke is a beautiful young lady graduating from school. Suze deeply loves her child, but Brooke's boyfriend Gage really annoys her. He often spends nights in Brooke's bedroom and knows absolutely nothing about personal boundaries. Suze doesn't understand why Brooke even likes him and advises her to break up with him. She says that Gage is just a loser with bad grades, whose mother is in prison, but Brooke doesn't listen to her. Brooke tells her mom that she can take care of herself and suggests Suze think about her own life instead. Well, Suze has her own problems too. She suffers from premenopause and feels like she is getting older every day. Brooke's graduation ceremony turns into a chain of unpleasant surprises for Suze. First, she meets her ex-husband and his new wife. Then, Suze discovers that Brooke is going to study in college far away in Montreal. Brooke arranges a graduation party at their house and invites a bunch of people. Suze feels upset because of Brooke's decision to leave her and wonders why Gage seems to be okay with it. He says that he loves Brooke and feels happy for her, so he doesn't want to hold her back. So, time flies very fast, and it is time for Brooke to start her new amazing journey. She bids goodbye to her mom and her silly boyfriend and boards the plane to Montreal. Suze works hard to adjust to her new life alone and misses Brooke very much, but Brooke ignores her calls and voicemails, and Suze goes crazy with loneliness. She decides to visit her daughter in Montreal, but Brooke finally calls her back and tells Suze that Gage tried to kill himself. She begs Suze to check up on him, and Suze reluctantly agrees. She visits Gage in the hospital and meets his father, Rick. It turns out that Brooke broke up with Gage shortly after leaving for Montreal, and this is why he decided to commit suicide. Suze feels awkward and wants to leave, but Rick runs after her and asks her for a favor. He has a work trip, but Gage can't be home alone. So Rick asks Suze to look after his son until he comes back. Suze says no and rushes home, where she calls Brooke and lashes out at her for hurting Gage's feelings. As she informs Brooke that she is going to visit her in Montreal, Suze realizes that Brooke isn't happy with this idea, so she cancels the trip. Instead, she decides to look after Gage and invites him to spend 2 weeks at her place. The situation is kind of fun, taking into account that they both were left by the same person. Suze has a hard time getting used to a noisy boy in her house. She can't leave him alone while she is at work, so she takes Gage with her. There, Gage video calls Brooke and makes a scene, attracting the attention of all Suze's colleagues. At home, he doesn't eat anything for dinner and goes to bed early. In the middle of the night, Suze finds him super excited and full of enthusiasm to start a new life. Gage wants to graduate from school and get a job he deserves, so Suze supports his decision. When Gage discovers that he can't get back to his studies since he skipped too many classes, Suze comes to his school and persuades his teacher, Carl, to allow Gage to continue his studies. One day, Suze bumps into her ex-husband and finds out that his current wife is pregnant. Her ex never wanted a second baby, but now he's happy, and Suze feels sad and confused. Gage thinks that Suze needs some distraction and takes her to a special relaxation party where people console and comfort each other. There, Suze meets Carl, and he offers her to cuddle and have a pure-hearted talk. After they spend time together, Suze really feels better and notices that Carl might be into her. She tells Gage about it and thanks the boy for his help. Now, these two get along very well, and Suze is happy to look after him while his dad is away. When Carl asks her out on a date, Gage encourages Suze to say yes. Gage and his friend help Suze have a little makeover, and she feels beautiful and sexy again. After Suze leaves for her date, Gage and his friend discover that Brooke has a new boyfriend. This is bad. Suze and Carl's date goes pretty well, and they end up making out at his place. They are going to have sex, but suddenly, Suze receives a call from the police saying that Gage took her car and wanted to drive to Montreal. When Suze picks him up from the police station, Gage tells her about Brooke's new boyfriend. Suze apologizes to Carl for ruining their date and agrees to meet him again. She consoles Gage and advises him to move on, but Gage wants to go to Montreal first and say goodbye to Brooke for the last time. He believes that it would help him to let her go and stop thinking about her. Suze hesitates but then decides to take Gage to Montreal herself. During their ride, Gage and Suze talk about their pasts. Suze opens up to Gage about the reason why she divorced Brooke's father. She never told Brooke that her father cheated on her because she didn't want Brooke to hate her dad. Suze and Gage arrive in Montreal and meet Brooke with her new guy. Suze sees that Brooke is not happy to see them and tries to smooth the situation but fails. Gage gives Brooke flowers and starts playing his guitar, embarrassing her even more than before. When Brooke's boyfriend starts mocking him, Gage gets angry and attacks him. Brooke loses her patience and takes all her anger out on Suze. She reveals that she chose Montreal only to escape from her overprotective mother. Brooke doesn't want to keep in touch with either Suze or Gage and tells them to stay out of her life. Her words deeply hurt Suze, but she keeps calling her daughter and apologizing to her. Over dinner, Gage condemns Brooke's behavior. He says that she treats Suze like garbage and Suze deserves much better than that. Suze explains that she is ready to tolerate Brooke's behavior because she loves her daughter, and her biggest fear is to lose her. All her life she did everything to make Brooke happy, but her daughter still chose to leave her and live separately. Suze doesn't expect Gage to understand her, but it looks like he is the only person she can rely on. Gage wants to cheer Suze up and sings her an amazing song right in the restaurant. It makes Suze smile and look at Gage from a new perspective. He is a thoughtful, delicate, and kind-hearted boy, and Brooke was very lucky to have him as her boyfriend. Suze tells Gage that he has talent and that he should study music in the future. Gage doesn't think that he has potential, but Suze believes in him and encourages Gage to at least try. When she was young, Suze dreamt of traveling all around the world, but then she got married and forgot about her dream. Gage advises her to start traveling now and admits that she is a cool and amazing woman. Suddenly, Gage kisses her, but Suze quickly pulls back, so Gage goes to sleep in another room. In the morning, Suze and Gage make their awkward way back home, where Gage's father is already waiting for them. Rick tells Gage to pack his stuff and takes him home. Gage tells him that he wants to visit his mother in jail, but his dad doesn't support him. Suze gets back to work and meets Carl again. Unfortunately, she gets completely lost in her own feelings, lashes out at Carl, and leaves before they have sex. Gage meets with his mother and she is very happy to see him. She apologizes for being a bad mother, and Gage wants to forgive her. But when he discovers that she is going to start a new life after jail, he realizes that she will forget about him again. Brooke comes home for Thanksgiving and Suze is really excited to see her. To her surprise, Brooke invites Gage for dinner. She broke up with her boyfriend because he wasn't as good as Gage. Now, she wants to get back with Gage and make love to him, but he tells her about his kiss with Suze. Brooke confronts her mother and humiliates Gage by revealing all the mean things Suze told about him in the past. Upset and disappointed, Gage flees the scene. Suze runs out of patience and tells Brooke how selfish and bad she is. The truth is that Gage is too good for Brooke, and she simply doesn't deserve him. Suze searches for Gage, and when she finally finds him, he tells her that he wanted to commit suicide again. Suze apologizes to him and says that he is an amazing person who deserves a better life. They reconcile, and Suze helps him get the psychological help he needs to start over with a clean slate.